Hello, people of YouTube. This is Gray's Guitars. I am Steve Gray. Thank you for watching. The fear of buying expensive guitars. I know this one all too well. The guitar was never owned by anyone famous, but it is in my opinion, a very expensive guitar. To Slash, it would just be another guitar. That's one of the Gibsons that I own. But it's good to know that there are different levels of fear of owning expensive guitars. So let's take a look here at why Slash will not buy somebody else's guitar. So my intentions when I buy them is to use them. You got David Gilmour's Black Strat. Are you going to take it down to the local pub and jam? Slash on why he won't spend money on famous guitars. So, and whether we can expect a Slash guitar auction anytime soon. So 2024 is proving to be a peak year for guitar auctions. However, there's one famous guitarist who's not so keen on collectible guitars. Slash has recently given his thoughts on why he won't spend money on famous guitars and whether he's up for auctioning his own. In an interview, Slash refers to the 2019 David Gilmour guitar auction, which included Gilmour's iconic Black Strat and Mark Knopfler's record-setting auction, and says, when people do auctions like that, I love guitars and I will work out some money, but I'm not going to fork that kind of money for a guitar. So you buy something like Gilmour's Black Strat, and it's a special novelty item that you're going to hang on a wall or something. I've got a lot of guitars, but my intention when I buy something is to use them, which I do, even if I only use them a handful of times, but they always have an application. He jokingly adds, you've got David Gilmour's Black Strat, you're going to take it down to the local pub and jam with your friends with it? That's exactly my point. You're not going to take your Gibson R9, your $10,000 prize guitar that you saved up every penny to get because, realistically, you're never going to be able to afford that 1959. And even if you can afford a 1959 guitar, good luck actually locating that guitar that it isn't in a private collection. And you get an R9, a Murphy aged R9, which I would say is the closest you're going to get to a real one. And you spent 10 grand on that. You're not taking that down to your local open mic night. You're not taking that on gigs with you. You're not doing that. I don't really think I know that many guitarists, or if any, do I know? I don't think I know. I legitimately don't think I know any guitarists that are rocking an R9, an R7, an R8, an RO, any of those, highly expensive aged Murphy Lab Gibson models. I don't think any of them are rocking them on stage. There are a few artists that do rock a Gibson Les Paul Custom, but at the same time, you can usually get one of those for $3,000, and to them, when they're making a couple $1,000,000 a year, $3,000 is probably the equivalent of your average Joe buying like a $500 guitar. So elsewhere in the interview, he also reveals whether we can expect a Slash guitar auction anytime soon. Somebody asked me if I was going to auction my guitars off, and I was like, I'm not there yet. So I'm a pack rat. I don't think I've gotten rid of anything since I started, except for the stuff hawked for what I thought was a good reason back then, probably drugs. Drugs and booze. But everything else, I've kept, and it's hard for me to part with anything, he explains. Slash is known for his considerable guitar collection, a long-standing association with Gibson. Indeed, Gibson unveiled the new collector's edition replica of Slash's 1963 ES-335, priced at $15,000 a pop. So he probably, it's a replica of his original 63, which I'm not sure when he picked that up, but if he picked it up in the 80s, at that time it was a 20-year-old guitar, and I can guarantee you it wasn't anywhere near that kind of price. I wouldn't surprise me if Slash rocks a couple of $15,000 guitars out on stage. I've seen him in concert with Guns N' Roses, and he does play a Gibson Les Paul Custom, and those are not cheap guitars. And that is the primary guitar that I own. I have a Gibson Les Paul Custom that I got at a really good price. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And I'll be honest, I really take it out of the case because I have a Gibson Les Paul Studio that has the same pickup set in it. I got the Epiphone Les Paul, I got the Stratocaster, I got an SG. I don't have anywhere near as many guitars as Slash does. I would say I think I have owned in my lifetime You know, I've been playing since I was like 14, 15 years old. I would assume I have owned somewhere around 30 guitars. And some people may be like, oh my god, that's a lot. Some people will be like, oh, 30, that's nothing. I've owned a couple hundred. But I do a lot of buy, sell, and trading. That's you know, I got a couple things up on the Reverb Shop right now. A link will be down below if you want to check out the old Reverb Shop. But there is a price point where I am physically scared to play a guitar. And at the same time, I like primarily buying used guitars. Now, I have bought a few new guitars recently, primarily Firefly. I bought a brand new Firefly Buckethead. Ended up selling that because, honestly, I used it, I played it, and I was like, realistically, I'm probably not going to play this over some of my other more expensive Les Pauls. If I am, I got to mod the crap out of it. I got the Firefly Double Neck, and that's the only 12-string I own. And I do like the sound of the 12-string, so I actually do bring that out of the case more often than you would think. Mainly playing the 12-string part of it, not playing the 6-string part of it, you know, when the mood strikes. But you get to a certain price point, and you're like, well, do I ever plan on selling this guitar? Now, personally, do I ever plan on selling that Gibson Les Paul Custom? Probably not. Not unless I get something of similar value. Maybe that I'm going to play more or something, but as I said, I have the Studio, same year, I believe it's the same pickups as well. I think are they both 94s? They're both 90s, I'll tell you that much. But it's the same exact pickups in them. Yes, there's a little bit of difference with the body thickness, but like the Custom, that particular Studio does have the ebony board as well, which is nice. And I would bring that out to a gig, and I think I have brought that out to a gig before. Everybody thinks it's like super expensive. It's a Gibson. It's a Gibson Les Paul Studio. You know, they are kind of expensive, but when you're getting into the multi-thousands of dollars, where every stupid little ding, scratch, nick can highly devalue the guitar, especially if it's on the front. So, you know, if you got a couple of scratches on the back, whatever, but when it's a higher value guitar, unless it's a Murphy Lab, I would say, most of the time people want them in mint condition. So in the future, if I ever do decide to sell the thing, it makes me afraid to play it. Like the Studio was beat up when I bought it, so if I put another scratch on it, I probably wouldn't even realize it because there's so many currently on it. Same with one of the SGs I have. Same with the Epiphone Les Paul that I have. All of them got bought used. All of them were already played. They're not in terrible condition, but you know they do have typical player wear. I would call it from guitars for being like a 30-year-old guitar, which makes perfect sense. But it's good to know that I'm not the only one that's afraid to play expensive guitars. And it's like, well, I could sell it, but then it's like, well, if I sell it, I'm never going to get the guitar for that price again. And then, you know, I was like, well, I didn't pay anywhere near $3,000 for that Les Paul Custom, so maybe I can't justify selling it, because if I sell it, then the next time I want a Les Paul Custom, all that money that I made is going to go back into it, because, as I said, I'm not going to find it for that price again. And it's not always just about the money. You know, I mean, sometimes it's about the money. You know, I got to get new tires in my car. I just sold one of my bases, and that's where that money's going. Is going to end up probably all going to the new tires on my car. I sold that Epiphone Thunderbird Pro bass, and I also sold I had a Gibson chainsaw case, an older one. I sold that locally for probably, you know, I gave the guy a decent deal on it, because how many people are just buying a Gibson chainsaw case? I think I ended up selling it for a couple $100, but I got that with that Gibson Les Paul Studio. So I honestly, I can't complain. I have another case I put the Les Paul Studio in. It was a little bit of a tight fit on the Les Paul Studio, if I remember correctly. So I put it in an Epiphone Les Paul case, and then my Epiphone Les Paul ends up going in a gig bag most of the time. But I have cases. I don't need that one sitting around clogging up room. Usually my maximum limit for guitars is around 10 for holding onto at one time. I think the most I ever had in my own room, I think, was like 14 or 15, and I was like, I'm getting too many. I need to get rid of some. And I'm in that habit right now again. It's like I'm getting too many. Some aren't getting played. Like I had that Telecaster. I had that Mexican Telecaster forever. Refused to get rid of it, essentially. And then I was like, you know what? I never play this thing. guy offered me one of the new Prophecies, and I was like, yeah, what the heck, let's trade it. And now I don't want to play, and now I never played the Prophecy. So it is what it is. It's an endless cycle. But what is your price point of, oh, I really like this guitar, but I'm afraid to play it because I think I might damage it? That's where we're going to end, is to tell me what price point you're comfortable taking a guitar out to a gig, to a friend's house, letting other people play, and then what price point are you terrified that your guitar is going to get another scratch or another ding or a nick or buckle rash or sweat wear, or the gold is going to wear off on it because you're playing it too much? What is the price point that you're like, I'm terrified to play this guitar because I don't want to cause more damage to it than has already happened? That's what I want to know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, subscribe, like, share, all that fun stuff. Let me know what you want to see for future guitar and music related videos. And as always, have a good one.